Hi everyone, my name is Leanne and today I'm bringing you the second tome around book tag. I saw this tag on Olive's channel and I will leave her video as well as the original creator links down below in the description if you would like to check out their videos, which I would really encourage you to do. This is a tag that is all about your experiences of buying and reading secondhand books. This is something I have a lot of experience in. Jumping straight into the questions, the first question is, do you buy secondhand books? The short answer to that is yes, but there are a few more layers to that. I would say the vast majority of my library or my collection of books are secondhand. When I was about 19, I really upped how much I was reading. I think that was for a combination of reasons. You know, I discovered BookTube and I realized that I could read a lot more than I previously thought I could. I was discovering so many books that I'd never heard of before, and it was also the first time that I had financial independence when I went off to uni. I wouldn't have been able to sustain the volume of what I was reading if it weren't for secondhand books. Both in terms of like my reading for pleasure, but also the volume of text that I had to read for my university course. I studied English literature and creative writing, and because I was in like a university town, a lot of the books that you were studying were books that the year above had given away at the end of their year. So you could get most of your texts secondhand, which was really great. For a really long time, I really just couldn't afford to buy books new. There were some really rare exceptions for pre-orders of some of my favourite authors, but the vast majority of the books that I bought were secondhand, and I would say still a significant percentage of the books that come into my life are secondhand, be it through a secondhand bookshop or a book swap. I wouldn't be the reader I am today if it wasn't for being able to buy those books secondhand. For one of the next questions, I'm going to talk about why I think it's so important that we should be able to get books secondhand. Question 2 is, what was your most recent purchase? Now, I have been buying fewer books secondhand because of lockdown, because we're not really able to go browse in the same way that we once were. But I did buy one book on eBay recently, which I had never done before, but it was a really specific book that I wanted and I couldn't seem to find it anywhere else, and that was If You Come Softly by Jacqueline Woodson. I think this has only been published in America, but I read her YA memoir, Brown Girl Dreaming, and I also read her latest fiction book, Red at the Bone, and I think she's just a fantastic writer. This is a really short, I'm not sure if it's middle grade or YA, but it's a really short romance between Jeremiah, who is black, and Ellie, who is white and Jewish. It's just about their lives coming together, even though there are a lot of differences between their life experiences, and it's about the blossoming romance between the two characters. I have way too many unread books, so it's probably a somewhat good thing that's like I haven't been able to do secondhand shopping, and like this is the only secondhand book I've been able to get recently. The next question is, what condition do you find acceptable? So like how tatty is okay? And I think I'm pretty lenient on this. I don't mind a broken spine in the slightest. I don't mind dog ears. I don't mind underlining. In fact, I really love getting a book that has underlining in it, because I think it just enriches the reading experience so much when you get a glimpse into a stranger's reading experience. I don't even necessarily mind like a couple of rips or anything. Water damage is probably where I kind of draw the line. I don't like when books have water damage. If the book itself is like dirty, that can really bother me as well. Like, I used to work in like an Oxfam bookshop, and if we had a book that was slightly grubby, we would like clean it. So it really bothers me when that hasn't been done, but like I know obviously the people working in these places are super busy, but it just puts me off a little bit. Like, no one wants a book that's sticky, you know? The next question is, what do you do with said book once you have read it? Do you keep hold of it to reread it, or do you donate it again? This completely depends, and this is something that I've spoken about in a lot of videos in the past, and my approach to dealing with this with secondhand books is no different to my approach with books that I've bought new, and it completely depends on the book. If it's a book that I feel a connection to, or it somehow represents me as a reader, I do keep hold of it. Even if I don't have a particular intention to reread it, if I think it represents me, then I do keep it in my library, but I can reevaluate that at any point and then unhaul it. I'm a materialistic person. I like having lots of books, and I wouldn't be able to do that if it hadn't been for secondhand bookshops. Question 5 is, do you have a favourite place to go when it comes to getting secondhand books? As I mentioned, I do love a little book swap that you can often find Sometimes they're in libraries with books that they're getting rid of. You can sometimes find them in like supermarkets, and the main place I go to for book swaps are like public transport. When it comes to buying secondhand books, there are a few spots that I particularly like in London. I really like any amount of books, although they do sell proofs, which I'm not okay with. If you want to know why, I did a whole video about why you shouldn't sell proofs. I also really like Scoob Books in London and the South Bank Book Market, which is like an outdoor book market thing. In Dublin, I really love Chapters, and a secondhand bookshop that will always have a very firm place in my heart is Istwith Books in Aberystwyth. I used to do a lot of secondhand book shopping in charity shops, and I will still occasionally pick up a book in a charity shop. I buy a lot of clothes in charity shops or like thrift shops, but unless it's something that I'm like desperate to get my hands on, I tend to try not buy books in charity shops. I think a lot of bookstores, and that includes like high street bookshops and also independents and secondhand bookshops, can be intimidating for a lot of readers that aren't kind of in like a middle class reading bougie kind of circle. And in fact, charity shops can be a really fantastic place for people who do feel intimidated by bookshops to get amazing books from at a really affordable price. So unless it's like a book that I'm like, yes, I desperately need this, I've wanted this for so long, then I tend to leave those books there for someone else. Sometimes people ask me about whether buying a book secondhand or in a charity shop is actually supporting the author, and a lot of people think it isn't because you are not giving that author any money directly. But the person who bought that book in the first place already gave the publisher and the author money. If that book was just sitting in that person's house not being used, that's not benefiting the author either. I really think charity shops and secondhand shops are a really important part of the ecosystem of reading. Maybe that one book that someone got in a charity shop will turn them into a completely avid reader. Maybe they will then buy that author's next book full price. Maybe they will blog about that book or talk about it on their YouTube channel. And otherwise that book would have been inaccessible for that person, and then that promotion for that author wouldn't have happened. I think wherever you get your books from, as long as you're not getting them like illegally or pirating them, which I detest, I wouldn't judge anyone for where they get their books from. And I think it's really important that we don't do that. That's not to say I don't think people should make informed and sensible consumer decisions. For instance, I no longer buy books from Amazon, but that's because I have the means to do so. A lot of people can only get their books from places like Amazon, from supermarkets, from charity shops, and it's all part of the ecosystem. Next question is hardback or paperback? Which do you prefer? That age-old question. I always prefer paperbacks. I think hardbacks are too big, they're too clunky, I can't really carry them around in my bag. So I will always prefer a paperback, but if there's a book I really want in a secondhand shop and it's in hardback, that's not going to put me off. The next question is, have you found any gems? And the vast majority of my library. But some of the most significant things I can remember finding secondhand are a lot of my Penguin English Library books were secondhand. If I ever go on a trip, even if it's like a different city, I will always check out the secondhand bookstore, and I really want to find a Penguin English Library book that I haven't got already. I find those a lot better than getting like a keyring souvenir or something. It's like a little bookish treasure hunt. And I remember once I went into an Oxfam bookshop on my lunch break from my old job, and I found like so many Penguin English Library books. Like, I can't even remember. I'll link the video where I hauled them down below in the description, but there was so many. Another thing that I kind of did a treasure hunt with was I got all of my A Series of Unfortunate Events books secondhand, gradually just finding them in kind of bits and pieces out of order. I also got these folio editions of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. So there's both books here, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. I absolutely love these. They are the only folio books I have, and I got them for a tenner. I got these when I was book shopping with my boyfriend at the time, and he called me over because he knew that I loved the Alice books and pointed them out to me, and I was like, oh my god. And then I bought them, which apparently was the wrong thing for me to do because he wanted to get them for me for my birthday, and I was like, well, why did you point them out to me then? Like, I buy my own shit. Question 8 is find a book from your bookshelves that you can donate. I recently did another book on haul video, and I'll leave that link down below in the description as well. All of those books will be going to secondhand shops as soon as I can because lockdown. Admittedly, things have opened up a lot in Ireland, but I'm still cautious. And the final question is to tag some people. I will leave some people mentioned down below in the description. Check it out. If you see your name there, you are tagged. But also, if you just like the sound of this tag, consider yourself officially tagged. If you have any thoughts on anything I mentioned in this video, do leave me a comment down below. Let me know how you feel about secondhand books. I would love to have a chat with you guys. I hope you're doing well, and I will talk to you in my next video.